I love how both of you kind of laid this out. I want to make one point about that, two more questions, and then we want to bring all of you into the conversation. So, for me, the fact that all of these systems are built on theft puts me right up against a hard line. And what you hear from my fellow scholars is that broad access to all of these, quote, texts that we can see as part of a common pool, a common good, exists despite what the corporations did to create them, right? So even if Google stole all the books in human creation to create Google Books,
Right.
it's there. We might as well get some use out of it.
Right.
So I want to highlight that. And another one of our film festival, guests here, Ife Nullins, y'all. She has a film in the festival this year. So somebody else who came from North Carolina to be here with us.
Hey, Carolina.
Go on and raise up.
Hey, don't get me started.
So, hey, let's go. So the next to last question for both of you, because you were talking about collectives and being able to build, and you were talking about the same thing in your comments about students, how we build rich educational experiences in community, not just in school settings, so that people have a rich critical awareness of what happens as these tools and technologies change, and a rich set of literacies to be able to use and produce with them no matter what else is going on. So if you were imagining a kind of community cipher, with Black folks and technologies, where we're going to build that combination of critical awareness and skills and literacies, let's say it's going to be straight up in the neighborhood, right? What would be on that curriculum for you? Since you introduced the collectives idea,
Right.
I'm going to start with you and then finish with you.
Okay. Well, this is a.
I
is
think
this
your
still
mic
working
works.
now?
Your mic works.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
boom.
Hey, I'll just pass it down. So a couple of things. One, I think that we need to think more of AI in the context of hip hop rules, right? So we
Remix.
know exactly. We already know hip hop borrows from everybody and their mama and then some, right? But it's still a unique creation. But they also have to acknowledge who they borrowed from. This is why when you get the liner notes, there's like 511 people in the list, right? Because there is a collective creative process at work that they have to acknowledge. And so hip hop rules allows for that creativity and that borrowing, that kind of Sankofa going back into history, musical history, and bringing it forward to take place. And I think you can do something like that with AI. I would say as a result, though, you would have to be very clear on the kind of materials that focus on ethics and copyright,
Yes.
right? Materials, for example, there's Rolf Trujillo who talks about the archives and what the archives is missing. And in a sense, this is what you have to do when it comes to building an AI. What's missing? How is a narrative being formed or misinformed because something is missing or something has been placed in? And so these kinds of questions, right, I think would be very helpful, right, that Rolf Trujillo brings up. We would also have to do work on digital blackface. So
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
lot of stuff on
That's a good
identity and blackness and the way in which blackness is co-opted both for advertising and marketing, but also to create conflict within community
That's right.
and create other problems, right? So I think that, I'm actually, it's funny you asked me this, I'm working with a student now and we are building a course, right, for her specifically because she wants to do this kind of work. And I told her, you're going to have to do all the boring theoretical stuff first,
Right.
before you then try to play with the technology.
Yep. So we got two different schools happening just off of that comment. One thing I want to highlight before I pass the mic, though, some of you remember in the early days of the internet, one of the ideas we were sold was that the internet would help us achieve more permanence with culture, with history, with written records, where everything else can be ephemeral.
Right.
One thing we've learned since then is just how ephemeral digital life can be, how quickly things can disappear that we thought would be permanent. And so to that end, what Doc was saying about archives and archiving being part of what this community-based curriculum could look like, think about all of the elements of the culture that we want to preserve, need to preserve. We joke all the time about we losing recipes. So creating space to save and preserve those recipes could be part of this broader technology education that will help us shift even as the technology shifts. But yes, what's in your community-based curriculum for us in technology to deal with all this stuff?
So let's see if it is working. Okay, so I think part of that, which and Dr. Frazier brought this up, and so did Dr. Banks, that which is not incorporated into any of these archives, and the things like not just recipes, but the way that we use language, the way that we dress, the way that we walk, all the things that are connected to our culture. Those things people don't think those things are important. And so someone's making the decision as to what goes in an archive, and the fact that those decisions aren't being made with regards to the inclusivity of every aspect of our culture, then people that are accessing those archives get a sort of a jaded view or a biased view of our culture just because we haven't put those things, or we haven't placed importance on certain things that are a part of our daily lives. And so when I think about that, which is a part of that community collective, it would include music, it would include our language, it would include more aspects of our language, our styles, the way that we decorate our homes, the pictures that we all hang on our walls, or that we had relatives hang on our walls, that we can say, oh yeah, I remember that picture of Jesus, or
church fans.
Right. So all these aspects leave parts of our culture out of those archives, and that leaves parts of our culture out of AI in many respects, and out of the whole collective in some respects as well.